Hey there everyone, flower lovers in particular. I'm Fionuala and I live and garden in Zone 9B, a little bit outside of Petaluma in Northern California. And today we are going to celebrate the lush and lovely month of May by picking fresh flowers and making an arrangement right from my garden. As you can see, my garden is full of flowers. And I don't have a cutting garden per se, but I do have flowers pretty much everywhere. And today I'm going to make a bouquet foraging in my garden. Now I don't have anything in particular in mind quite yet, but I'm going to wander around, pick some blooms, and let's see what happens. Before we really get going, I want to tell you what I've got. I've got a bucket filled with water so that I can plunge the blooms straight in there. I got my little snips for the smaller stalked flowers, and I got my trusty Falcos for the tougher ones like the roses. Now I can see from here snapdragons everywhere, at least 3 different kinds of roses, some filler that I definitely want to use, and I know over there there's a bunch of other things too. So we're going to be wandering quite a bit. I am making this up as I go along because I'm letting my garden tell me what to pick today. So let's get going. I'm going to start with this rose bush up here. This is port sunlight, and it is so pretty when it opens up. It scatters petals awfully easy, but I actually love that because when you get it in on your table in your arrangement, it's like confetti on the table, so I never mind. It's a really good idea to take all the lower foliage off. I just do that straight in the garden. I'm going to start by picking the blooms that are facing inward on this arbor because otherwise they're going to whack me in the face anyway. This one here probably won't last too long in the vase indoors, but it's going to be pretty and it's going to do that confetti thing that I like. Plus it's got an extra little bud here that is really pretty. Okay, I'm going to leave plenty more blooms on that one. It's a really good idea to leave a lot of the flowers there, both so that you can enjoy them in the garden. It's making my garden look super charming right now, but also for the bees and the pollinators and anybody else who wants to enjoy them. Okay, let's go see what's next. I am going to choose some of these white snapdragons, both for the height. They're really beautiful, sturdy stems. And the color, being white, contrasts really nicely with that port sunlight. Now, I'm not promising to stay consistent with the color scheme, but I just really like these white snapdragons. Once upon a time, when I was a little kid, I have this really fond memory of being in my neighbor's garden. 2 doors up from us, he was so proud of his garden and had the best summer border. And he would have this whole line of snapdragons. Me and my little friends, we would lay on our tummies and watch the bees struggle their way into the snapdragon bloom. And those bees would literally disappear for a second, get on in there and get the nectar or the pollen or whatever they were searching for, and come on out again. It was the best summer entertainment for a 6-year-old. We're in the land of the pincushion flowers now. This is Scabiosa butterfly blue. Look at this flower. It is fluffy and magical and whimsical and just adds a really touch of joy and magic to this bouquet that's going to be happening. Now I tried to pick the younger flowers, which you can kind of tell just by looking at them. But even the buds, even the flower buds in these are really pretty cool. Let me see if I can find one for you. Look at how interesting this is. This is the bud of the pincushion flower. Those themselves even make a nice addition to the arrangement, but I'm going to leave them this time so that I'll have something to pick next week when I come out. I really try to get out once a week and pick a bouquet from my garden. It's seriously not a cutting garden, but there are flowers everywhere for me in my beautiful chaos garden. And almost every day of the year you can find something. Sometimes it's heavier on the greenery in my bouquets, around the holidays in January, things are a little sparse, but literally every day of the year there is something out here for me to pick. I'm going for really long stems. Now I don't know what height I'm going to have my ultimate bouquet, but I'm just giving myself the options here because I am literally, like I said, making it up as I go along. Okay, I'm going to leave plenty more of these for next week and for the bees. Something really sweet about Scabiosa and this particular stand of plants that I've got going here, bees sometimes go to sleep in the blooms. It is the cutest thing. The little native bees, not the honeybees, I'm not seeing any today, but you'll see little bees sleeping in the blooms. I absolutely love that. I can't decide whether I want to add this one to my bouquet or not. I'm going to keep it in mind for a little further down the line. It's one of those tall growing dianthus, cottage pinks. I think it's called rockin' red, can't quite remember. Love it in the garden. And I think it would work in a more intense looking bouquet. This one is kind of heading towards being pastel, but I'm going to keep it in mind, might come back to it later. Since we're here on the way to some more flowers, I just wanted to mention my currant bush. It's actually a black currant, but because it's in so much shade, it's not really producing any currants this year as far as I can see, but I do love it in flower arrangements for the greenery. So I'm going to bring some of this indoors too. Again, keeping my options open, doing a little pruning back at the same time, you know. But it is really pretty, very graceful looking, and it's going to make a very nice touch for the filler greenery part. This is my asparagus patch, and I did not keep up with it. But that's to the advantage of the floral bouquets because it actually looks really great in a bouquet. Talk about fluffy greenery. I'm going to take off the lower foliage. I'm going to leave it nice and long, just, again, to keep my options open. But in case you didn't know, if you don't pick your asparagus when you're supposed to, when it's real small, it turns into this amazing ferny forest. And like I said, I love using this ferniness in my floral bouquets. I am heading in towards this rose over here called Charlotte, which I love in bouquets. Look at this one. The tight buds always have this really great blush of red or pink on the outside. I love this one in my arrangements. And really, I could pick 50 blooms off this particular bush and I wouldn't really make a dent on it. It is quite an incredible powerhouse of blooms. It's one of the David Austins, and I haven't seen it available for the last couple of years, but I got it maybe 5 or 6 years ago. A deer got into the garden once and really hacked it down to practically nothing. But that severe deer pruning seemed to invigorate this plant. And I just, as you can see, it's so full of blooms, I can really not keep up with it. So when you're harvesting roses for your bouquets, it's a really great idea to pick a stem. This one is, I'm not going to pick this one, but it's a great one for demonstrating. You want to go down to a leaf that has at least 5 leaves on it, if you see what I mean. Look at this. There are 5 little leaflets on this one. And then it's a great idea too to prune it outwards. So if I were to pick this particular one, I would cut it right here because I want the newer growth, the next bunch of blooms to come out that way rather than inwards. Believe it or not, I am doing that when I'm reaching in here to the foliage. It's just hard for you to see because it's such a thicket of foliage. Another thing I like about Charlotte, it's not terribly thorny. And look at the way it opens up. Look how rich and buttery yellow it is. It's going to be so pretty in my floral arrangement. We're going to pick some Peruvian lilies today too. This is an alstroemeria that has beautiful dark foliage and the prettiest blooms. And it's got yellow and kind of that blush of red, and there's some orange in there. I really think this is going to tie that bouquet together. Same thing, I'm stripping off the foliage out in the garden to compost my soil rather than have to bring it right back out again. It grows wild over here. I don't know if you've grown alstroemeria before, but it is so easy to grow. Such a reliable plant that keeps coming back year after year. Gophers don't eat it, which is amazing. It's inside my deer fencing, so I'm not sure if deer eat it or not. But year after year, this plant just keeps getting bigger and bigger, despite being crowded out by all sorts of things. It's a constant source of blooms for any bouquet. It dies back in the winter and sort of disappears, so I wouldn't be picking these blooms in, December, January, or February. But I probably started picking them back in March. I am so happy with this. Okay, let's go see what this is shaping up to be. Now, these definitely are adding some intensity. I may change my mind about them. I may get a whole different thing going, but actually I really love how they look with the port sunlight. For a little more white and a touch of elegance, I am going to get some of this Eastern Snowball. Really pretty. The foliage is really nice too. And there's like a grace to it. Just to calm it down a bit after the alstroemeria. And to complement the white snapdragons. And prune this little creature while I'm here. There is lots to love about this Eastern Snowball. It is, as you can see, it's brought its blooms all the way up to about 15, 18 feet now, which is gorgeous in the garden. It has fabulous fall color. It does lose its leaves in the winter, but talk about a low maintenance plant. It is zero maintenance. But the other thing I love about it, a month or two ago, these buds, the buds of these blooms, they were really a great chartreuse color. So I was using them in bouquets to bring a really fresh burst of green. Love that. And now to add a couple of callas. They are big and strong and stately and dramatic, and it's really hard to pass them up. I'm not 100% sure it's going to work in this bouquet, but let's try it. That's the whole thing. Be adventurous, be creative. In your own garden, this is your own masterpiece. I bet if you go outside right now, you're going to find an incredible selection of gorgeous things to make your own bouquets. So, I think I need just a little more greenery and filler, and then we'll put our bouquet together. I think with the intensity of that particular alstroemeria, that Peruvian lily that is so bright and dramatic, I think the vivid colors of this dianthus is going to work just fine. So I'll just bring a little bit. I love the open texture of it. Great stems on it. And even before the blooms actually open up, that adds a texture that is really looking good in here. So this is my fennel plant. It's a perennial fennel plant that comes back year after year. That's what perennials mean. And it makes a fabulous filler and smells great too. So I'm going to pick some of this. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the asparagus foliage. But it's interesting. Look at this one. Even before the flowers open up, you've got some texture and color, but I have to bring some of this in too. Not too far from my fennel, I've got some sorrel going to seed, which is great because sorrel self-seeds all over the place. I have never got a shortage of sorrel. But this actually makes great greenery as well in my bouquets, so I don't mind at all. And even unopened, it's got one kind of texture. When it begins to open up a little bit, it's got a whole other texture. So I'm going to cut some of this too to bring in so that I can play with it. Okay, now it's time to put the arrangement together. I have quite the palette picked out here, and I may not use all of them, but because there seemed to be quite a lot of drama, I chose a container that is earthy and brings down, that isn't adding to the drama and the mayhem and the color. I really like this anyway. So, and I always have a little bit of chicken wire to help hold the flowers in place once I've done the arrangement. So I'm going to scrunch this up a little bit, make sure it goes in, and that way, when I poke the flowers in, that chicken wire holds it. And next I'm going to fill it up with water. All right, full of water, ready to go. Here's what I'm working with. So I'm going to start with the greenery. That's really probably the best way to start. And I'll use some and save the rest for afterwards. I'm going to start with the asparagus because it's very dramatic and pretty exciting in its own right, and it just adds a lovely touch of airiness to it. I always recut the stems just so it takes up a lot of water. I kind of crisscross it a little bit like that. Next, the blackcurrant. So graceful. I love the shape of the leaves. Smells great too. They're kind of a balance of greenery and bloom, so that's what's going to go in next. Those are my viburnums, Eastern snowball. I'm just trying to get the balance first, and then I'll make sure the flowers are looking decent in there. All right, for height, some of my gone to seed sorrel, which I really like. It kind of reminds me of amaranth. And talk about effortless flower growing. I did nothing. I planted sorrel maybe about 8 or 9 years ago, and I have always had sorrel ever since. And I may remove things too if it's not working out for me. I just might take some things out. But the idea is to get the greenery in first and then start adding your color. I'm cheating a little bit with this fennel because it does have some color already, but it has that airiness that I want to add. Not cheating, you know what I mean. Balancing it out here and there. I'm going to start with the snapdragons, just because I like them so much. And they've got that height that I like. And they're going to provide an upright structure for me. Honestly, these stems are so thick, I'm not even sure they're going to fit through my chicken wire, but I have tricks for that too if I need to. These stems are so thick. My trusty Felco's to the rescue. I'm going to just shape it a little bit so it fits through the chicken wire for me. There we go. All right, time for some yellow. So this is going to go in the center of my kitchen table. So it needs to look good from every single angle. So it's a great idea to turn it around every now and again and make sure it looks good from all sides. This is the thing, you know, you go outside in your garden, I would bet you $1 million that you have the ingredients for a really lovely bouquet out there. Your vegetables gone to seed, some of those broccolis make incredible cut flowers. They're lacy and cute and pretty. When my daughter was young, I'd send her out to pick flowers, and she had an untrained eye. She didn't have opinions about what was a beautiful flower, what was developed horticulturally for 1,000 years. And she would bring me back the prettiest little bouquets filled with wildflowers and weeds and vegetables gone to seed. She was really quite an inspiration. All right, I was going to do this next, but no. I'm going to add port sunlight, one more Charlotte, and then a port sunlight. Not all of my roses have started blooming yet. And it's kind of interesting to see who started and who has still to bloom. The more intensely colored ones, the deeper reds, the really intense magenta ones, they're for later on, I guess. They just aren't producing blooms quite yet. Okay, next we're gonna do this. Get some excitement going with the alstroemeria that I've got. I have a couple of different colors of alstroemerias growing in my garden. More muted ones, less exciting than these, but I think this is the one that is really begging to be in this arrangement. It is so much fun putting together a flower arrangement from your own garden. It makes you pay attention to what's actually happening out there. You know, and if you make a resolution to pick a bouquet per week, you really keep an eye on things. Now, I would love to have a cutting garden, an actual cutting garden that there's nothing else for it to do except produce amazing flowers for me. But as I've told you before, I've got deer, and that would involve a whole other section of my property being fenced off for deer, and I just am not there with the budget right now. Nor do I really need it, because look at this. Look what I'm getting anyway without a cutting garden. I'm having second thoughts about the eastern snowball for this particular bouquet. It just isn't quite fitting. So I'm going to save that for a little posy in my kitchen. Now it's time for the dianthus. Oh yeah, that was good. I am really happy about the dianthus. Might go back and get some more of those. So pretty. A little bit of a wispiness to it, a little bit of intensity, fragrance of course because it's a dianthus, which is related to carnations, as you most likely know. There's so many varieties of dianthus. I probably have 6 or 7 for different reasons. Some of them are just great looking under roses, you know, complementing the color of the rose. Some are for picking, like these ones. I've got a couple of carnation types that haven't actually started blooming yet. Looking forward to that. But these ones are just perfect for this bouquet. Okay, now it's time to pop in the pincushion flower. Just adds a little bit of whimsy, a little bit of fluffiness, a contrast in color, a little pop of blue when everything else is in those peachy yellow tones. Complements the white too of the snapdragons and the callas. This butterfly blue has really long stems, which makes it great for any part of the bouquet. Again, keep turning, making sure it looks good from every angle. I'm going to go get more snapdragons, I think. Trying to make sure it's equally balanced. You know, the little pops of blue are equally balanced throughout the bouquet. Okay, I think one last calla, a couple more snapdragons, a little more greenery, and we are going to be good. All right, I'll be right back with another snapdragon. Okay, so I rambled over there, got a couple more snapdragons, and while I was there, I picked a couple more of these port sunlights. There was a few that's calling out to me for being added to the bouquet, so I'm like, let's do it. Has those peachy tones to a few more spots. Then on the way back, I picked a couple of Geranium madarense leaves to see if they looked good as part of the greenery. So I'll try that out in a second and see what it feels like when I put it in. Take the foliage off, keeps it cleaner, keeps the water fresher for longer. So yeah, when you're out in your own garden, see what is calling out to be brought indoors. You know, your garden speaks to you in ways that you need to pay attention to, or you want to pay attention to. It has so much to give you, and it's just so great to bring this beauty indoors. On my way back from picking the snapdragons, I thought of my Geranium madarenses, which you've seen many times before in my videos. It's great foliage and the stems are really strong. So I thought, because this has ended up being quite dramatic, that maybe that would make a great addition to this bouquet. So we're going to try it out. It is so much fun. You might find yourself picking too many flowers for your bouquet. Well, there's no such thing. You can always put together little bouquets to bring to your friends and your family and brighten up somebody else's life. Okay, there's always a little bit of fluffing up to be done, just to make sure things are balanced. and pleasing. And to be honest, even after I bring my bouquet indoors and it's sitting there for a day or two, I rearrange sometimes. Makes me happy. So there you have it. There's a lot going on in this bouquet, and oh my goodness, it just shows exactly how much is going on in the garden in May. May is a fabulous month for us Northern California gardeners, particularly for us in Zone 9B. Today is a foggy day, but it's going to burn off and the sun is going to come out. It's a mellow month, but look at the blooms. The flowers are responding. It is the first incredibly exuberant month we've had going. So everybody, get outside and garden. Go outside, take a stroll, look at everything you've got going on in your garden and start imagining them in a bouquet in your kitchen. It is so much fun to create a bouquet from your own garden. So satisfying, and it also makes you think about what you can do next season or next year. Gets you thinking about planning ahead and having fun. And like this bouquet, I've got fragrance, I've got color, I've got memories with the snapdragons, I've got my David Austin English roses that I love, I've got edibles. Not that I'm going to be eating these flowers, but use everything that's in your garden. There is so much out there. You just cannot believe it. And there you have it, my lovely, charming May bouquet. So I hope this inspires you to get outside in your own gardens, have a look around you, and create your own stunning masterpiece. Not that I'm saying this is a stunning masterpiece, but it sure is making me happy. And anything that brings you joy is a stunning masterpiece. So I hope you liked this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Share it with your friends. Make sure you've subscribed. You can also find me at Instagram or Facebook, or best of all at Cottage Gardens of Petaluma. Come on in and say hi, and maybe pick up some of these starts so that you can start growing your own plants and your own beautiful bouquets. Happy gardening, dear people.